Hello, and welcome to the Roguelike Roundup for 2021. I'm Chicken and Raffles, and I've played 11 different roguelikes this year, and I'm going to talk about them in order of the amount of playtime from least to most. That's not going to be a ranking thing. Some games I just put in not a lot of time into, even though they're kind of fun, so if something is really low on the playtime, that doesn't necessarily mean I didn't like it, so I'll just throw that out there now. So, first up, we have Dungeon Hack. Dungeon Hack is a first-person dungeon crawling RPG from in the Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms setting, and it's not great. It's not terrible. It's more nostalgic for me because I played it as a teenager. But the fun part is looking at the monster designs and looking at the different floors because it's a randomly generated map every time and every floor has its own aesthetic, which is cool to look at. But you spend a lot of time looking at the minimap and backtracking. A lot of the gameplay is just clicking on your weapon to attack and picking up keys to go find where to put the key. It's not super fun by today's standards, so I didn't put a ton of time into it, but it's something I'll probably come back to every once in a while just to, just to play through for a little bit. It's okay. It's not the worst thing I've ever played, but it's definitely not a modern roguelike. Next up, I have Dead Cells, which I was a little lukewarm on when I first played it, but having put a little more time into it, I think it's fine. It's sort of a 2D Metroidvania style hack and slash. The action feels pretty good, like the gameplay feels pretty good, and the weapon variety is diverse enough that even if you don't have fun with one weapon, you can eventually find something you will like. And the game became much more enjoyable for me when I found out I could dress up like a snowman. So that's what I've been doing. Dead Cells. It was way overhyped at the time, but it's pretty fun, and it's actually getting new DLC, so if you're willing to put another $5 into it, there's probably even more game to it. I just felt like the progression was a little slow, and it didn't feel distinct enough or something. I don't know. It's fine, but not something I want to play all the time. Next up, I have Death Road to Canada. So the gameplay is Oregon Trail, with the actual gameplay of it being like a survival. It's like a top-down, Zelda-style 2D action game, I guess is what I would call it. You mostly like spend all your time in the maps, like fighting zombies and picking up weapons and resources like food and medicine. I think the most fun way to play this game is to have a group of friends and then you name all the characters after them and you give them all fun personalities and then you watch them die. I did not play the game like that. I just made a bunch of Sonic characters, and while it's funny enough a couple of times, the gameplay itself isn't super fun. It isn't enough to sustain me playing it for a long amount of time, so it's not something I'm super willing to go back to, and it was definitely the one I had the most trouble like wanting to record gameplay for. But I think with the right group of people, you could have a decent amount of fun with it. Just like the gameplay is kind of slow, and I didn't really enjoy it. This is probably the only one that I wouldn't super recommend. I mean, this and Dungeon Hack, I think, are the least fun I had playing any of these this year. But it's fine. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot. Well, actually, no, we're getting to the better games. Next up, I have World of Horror, which is it's a weird Junji Ito / H.P. Lovecraft inspired RPG. It's a turn-based RPG, and every part of the fun part of this is the aesthetic. I love the look of the game. I love the weird creature design. I really like just like feeling like I'm solving a mystery. And this game really does do a good job with that. I think some of the stuff isn't super obvious the first few times you play, but the more you play it, the more you get a sense of what you're supposed to be doing. Like, the first few runs I had, I didn't even know you could buy items, but you can. That's a thing you can do. And the level progression feels good. The combat is a little boring-ish, but just like being in the world and the music and all the visuals are enough to keep me playing. And literally today there was an update for the game. So now you can save during a run again. And they've added modding, and there's custom mysteries and new characters. Like, there's so much to this game. I'm super excited to go back and play more of it. Alright, number 5, I have Crypt of the Necrodancer, which I put a surprisingly small amount of time into. I like the game a lot. I think what it is a top-down, rhythm-based dungeon crawler. It isn't really an RPG. It has RPG elements, but for the most part, it's like I don't know how I would describe the combat. It's just like run into a guy to attack it, but the enemies move on the beat. Each floor has its own song, and you can only move on the beat, and the enemies also move on the beat, or like off beat. Like you can track every enemy's movements based on the song, and you can only run into them, or they can only run into you after a certain amount of time, or a certain amount of beats. Like, it's a really cool idea, but when I went to record footage for it, I beat the whole run in like 7 minutes or something. So I think I just got good enough at the game that I don't feel like I want to play it that often anymore. If there's ever a sequel, I will probably be down to play more, but I think the art style's a little meh, but everything else, I love the design of the game, but I think I just got too good at it, and it doesn't look super great. It looks fun. It looks okay. I wouldn't bash any part of the design of the actual look of the game. And the music is fun. And the fact that you can put your own music in it is also cool, but something that I never actually did. I don't know. It's pretty good. I would definitely suggest Crypt of the Necrodancer. Really everything from here on out in the list I would recommend as definitely try it if it's on sale or something. Definitely give it a chance. Next up I have Into the Breach, which I put a surprising amount of time into. Into the Breach is a tactics RPG, but a kind of a weird one, in that it isn't like your fastest guy takes a turn and the enemy's fastest guy takes a turn. It isn't like that. What happens is you load in on a map and you place your 3 mechs, because you're robots and you fight aliens, and then the aliens get their turn, and then you see what they're going to do before they actually do it. So you can stop enemies from attacking if you hit them before they do a thing, or you can... Some of your different mechs can like push enemies away, so you can stop them from hitting you or hitting a building. Everything is like based on grid power, and if any of your buildings get hit, you take a grid damage. Once you hit 0 grid health, then you have to start over. But the game is really fun. Like, it's hard. It is tough as nails, but once you get the hang of it, it's very rewarding. And there's a lot of game in there. And I like the look of the music is probably my favorite part. It's just really chill. Like, if I just want to put something on for like an hour, I will just run through Into the Breach and just like try to knock out a few achievements. Because the more achievements you get, the more mechs you can unlock, and then you can just kind of randomize your crew, and it's pretty fun. Despite it being kind of hard. I would say the worst part of it is the difficulty. Sometimes you can just get screwed out of nowhere. You do get 1 turn reset per map, but sometimes it feels like maybe 2 would be better. So if you're into sort of difficult tactics games, this one's pretty good. I like it. I suggest Into the Breach wholeheartedly. It's fun. It's a fun time. For number 7, I have Slay the Spire, which is a roguelike deck building game and or slash RPG. It has RPG elements, obviously. I think like most of these games do, but it's a card battler and deck building game where you have 3 different dungeons you run through, and you can pick which direction you want to start in, and it's very fun. As a game, I love Slay the Spire. I was gonna say Into the Breach again, but Slay the Spire is really a fun game. Like, I can just play this whenever. I think the worst part about it is the look of it. It looks kind of weird. Like, the character designs in it are... I don't know how to describe it. It looks like watercolor, almost. Like, painted, but, like, the animation is, like, kind of stiff. I'm really having a hard time, like, finding something bad to say about it. Like, because it's generally just very fun. So, my one complaint is I don't love the designs of stuff in the game. But the design of the overall game is so fun that I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all. If it had a different aesthetic, maybe I would like it more. But I already like it a lot. So, if you haven't tried Into the Breach yet, somehow, give it a shot. Into the Breach... God damn it. Slay the Spire. Try that game. Try them both. Next up, I have Moonlighter. Moonlighter is a top-down... I would say Zelda-like, but it isn't really Zelda-like because there aren't any puzzles. You do the dungeon exploring in a top-down kind of hack-and-slash mode, but most of your dungeon runs are trying to find resources to then sell in a second mode, which is the other half of the game where you run a store. And it's one of the most relaxing goddamn games I've played maybe ever. It's so... I beat this game. I beat this game in like 17 hours, and I think that says a lot. Like, I have New Game Plus opened up to me, and I can see me playing more of this game. It's very just something about it is just very relaxing. I love the animations. Like, if you like really nice looking pixel art, like, I think just the animations of it looks so good. It just looks so good. And the music is so relaxing, and I love running the store. I love every part of this game. If you haven't tried Moonlighter, Moonlighter is so good. If you like a more relaxed experience, like, it isn't super punishing. There will be times where you just, like, can't beat a dungeon, and it'll just turn into a kind of a grind fest. But I was able to beat it in 17 hours, so even when you get to a part where you're just grinding, you'll only be doing it for like an hour and a half, maybe. So, and I love number go up. I love it when numbers go up. It's great. So, just like having, oh, I sell this vine for $3, and then you end up selling shit for like 3,000. It feels so good. Something about this game just like clicked with me really hard, and I really enjoyed it. Try Moonlighter. And we're into the top 3. Number 9 is Hades, which comes as no surprise. Hades, everyone said this was a good game, and I'm no different. It is a isometric view, like 3/4 top down, dungeon crawler. All of these games are a dungeon crawler, so I should stop saying that, but you have 6 different weapons available, and they're all completely different feeling. There's so much game in this game, like not just in gameplay, but also in dialogue and character development. Like, there's so much in this game that I feel like I'm maybe a quarter of the way through it, and I put in almost 30 hours into it already. My favorite weapon is the spear. I love having the long-range throw, and then you can pull it back to you. That feels pretty dope. And then also you have just like Like, it gives you the best of both worlds, where you have melee and you have a long-range option. I'm just throwing that out there because, you know, I don't know how much more I can say to the game's, you know, strength. Like, the music is great. The look of it is amazing. I love all the voice acting. I love the characters. Like, when the game was ending, like, I beat the main story mode of it, I was listening to something else, and I turned off everything else so I could watch the end of the game. And it was really, like, super nice. Like, oh man, it's great. Hades is amazing. If you somehow haven't played Hades, definitely Hades is one to pick up. There's a lot of game, and it's so fun. Like, this is probably top fun of all these games. Like, oh man, Hades is great. You should know that. You should know that by now. Hades is so good. And we got Enter the Gungeon, which, this game has been out forever. It's already been out for at least 5 years, and if you don't know what Enter the Gungeon is, it's a twin-stick shooter, where it's another dungeon crawler, and it's just, like, really solid. Like, there's so much to it, and the dodge roll feels great. Just, like, moving around and shooting feels so good. Like, this is, like, one of the most... I would say if Hades is the most fun I had playing any of these, Gungeon is right underneath it. Gungeon is so goddamn good. It's so crispy. I love that there's like secret endings for all the characters, and there's just so much to unlock. And you never feel like, oh god, I have to unlock this thing. It's just like, everything feels like a bonus. Like, everything... You could play the game with just the normal gun, and it would still be a completely fine game. But the fact that there's so much customization and like how you want to play the game, like if you want to play it as a speedrunning game, or if you want to like super deep dive and explore everything, there's so much to it. And it just looks great. The game looks great, and it sounds great, and it feels great. Gungeon is amazing. Then that leads us into the last game, which is Loop Hero, which is the only game that came out this year that I played. This game is it's a weird mix of a bunch of stuff. It's like an idle game in the combat. Like, you don't fight turn-based battles, even though it kind of looks like a retro turn-based RPG. You just, like, set your guy loose, and then he does all the exploring and the fighting on a loop. Like, every chapter is its own loop with its own boss. And you're gathering resources to build out your camp, which becomes like a village, basically. You have, like, it's a whole village, and every building gives you different upgrades. And when you go through the loops, you can find, like, permanent buffs for your character. Something about this game just really clicked with me. I love the resource management aspect of it, because it's just like looking at a bunch of stuff, fill up your inventory, and then just like building out your build. Something about the visuals and the music, it's a very chill experience too. Like, this along with Moonlighter is just like something I can turn on and just play whenever, because it's so relaxing to me for whatever reason. I know this one isn't everyone's cup of tea. Like, I can definitely see someone just thinking this game is boring, but there's a lot to it, and you can get stuck. When I was playing it, like, a lot, I would dump like 3 or 4 hours into it and not even know. I wouldn't even notice how much time had passed. If you can stand the combat being sort of out of your control, it's a really rewarding game, I think. And, yeah, that's about it for my roguelike roundup for 2021. I've got several more roguelikes I want to play over the next year. And I think it's going to go... I think Rogue Life, which is the playlist, is going to become more of a review type thing, because I want to start playing more longer games. So if that sounds something that would be interesting to you, that's good, because that's what I'm going to do. Right now on my list I have One Step from Eden, which is it looks like Mega Man Battle Network, if you've ever played it. I've got Downwell. I want to play Despot's Game, Dead Estates, either 20XX or 30XX, although I would like to get a second player for that, because there is co-op in that. And, there's probably more I'm forgetting, because there's like a million roguelikes out there. If you've got a roguelike you'd like me to play, leave it in the comments below. And thank you for watching this, and I'll see you next year for even more roguelikes, because they won't stop coming out. And I hope they don't stop coming out, because I need something to play in between all the other games that I play. Okay, bye. I never know how to end a video.